Welcome to the Sporting Chance. This podcast is brought to you by Midnight Falconry, makers of high-quality falconry leashes and jesses. Check them out at midnightfalconry.com. Ashley Clark Falconry, the highest quality leather falconry equipment, handmade in England, built to last and looks damn good while you're at it. Check them out at aclarkfalconry.co.uk. Be sure and use the code SportingChance10 at checkout. North Mountain Goshawks. Seth Roy is breeding high-quality, true parent-reared goshawks in addition to imprint goshawks on order. Check him out at northmountaingoshawks.com. Welcome, everybody, to the Sporting Chance podcast. I am Aaron Kincaid.
And I'm Casey Everett.
And we're joined today by the most famous falconer in America, Tyler Sladen.
Please don't.
Nobody's going to dispute that, are they?
No.
Dude, I don't hold a candle to Lauren.
Bro.
I think you're more famous than her.
For sure, yeah, for sure. Lauren's awesome, but she doesn't post enough, and half the time I don't know what she's up to. Not that it matters or it's our business, but
that shit didn't happen online. It didn't happen.
That's right, man. Damn right.
Lauren's always doing cool stuff.
Flying eagles, that is cool.
Yeah, it makes it way cooler. Nobody cares about these damn accipiters.
They're too accessible.
They really don't. Yeah, she posted a video today of that African hawk eagle. That thing's sweet.
She's flying an African hawk eagle right now?
No, it was like a video, like one of the ones born, I think, at Canellis's or something.
Ooh, Canellis bred them?
I'm not sure. I don't want to be quoted on any of that. I saw baby hawk eagles, and I'd imagine they're his.
I'm trying to get into that. The exotic eagles.
Looks fun. I don't think I'd spend $25,000 on it fun, but it looks fun.
Hell no.
The thing with a lot of those is you could feasibly fly one on the East Coast.
Yeah, the hawk eagles, all of them, like the ornates and the Africans would be, they're just beefy goshawks.
Yeah, so my buddy Tom has a Benelli's and a African, I think it's an African hawk eagle, is it black hawk eagle? The dimensions on that thing are insane. The feet are the size of an eagle, the head is an eagle, the wings are like a red tail, and the tail is like a goshawk. And the legs are like a Harris hawk, super long legs. It's such a crazy looking bird.
Yeah, and that's like a dream build of a bird. Like if I wanted to catch jackrabbits or like ducks.
Oh yeah. And the tiercel, I think the tiercel he said flies at like 15 or 1700, something like that. So it's just like a big red tail, big juicy red tail.
Yeah, or like a big beauty female goshawk.
Yeah, which I've never seen in my life.
What, a big beauty?
Had some, and they were like, I want to say they were like 1,500 grams plus.
So now this is what I hear a lot, and I've flown Beautyoides, I've flown Beautyoides crosses. You have a Beautyoides currently, right?
Oh, it's part Beautyoides, but yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, but I'm always hearing, oh, the mother is pure Beautyoides, and she flies at 1,550 grams. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but like I've never seen a goshawk fly at 1,500 grams.
No, I haven't either.
That's what I'm saying.
He used to have a good Facebook page, and then he just like took it off and kind of like disappeared. But there's a photo of one in flight behind a big male sage grouse, and you can like clearly tell that goshawk is not little.
Nice. Yeah, man. Dude, goshawks just get me. They just get me going, man. They get me excited.
That's my main thing now for the foreseeable future is goshawks.
Good for you.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. We all grow up at different speeds.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I remember when I got my first Harris hawk, this guy told me that I quit falconry and got a Harris hawk. At the time I scoffed at it, but the longer time goes on, the more I think he was right.
So Tyler just sent the picture that he was referring to in our conversation, and yes, that is a very big goshawk.
Yeah, the thing's huge.
That thing is huge.
That sage grouse is like 5 pounds, and that goshawk's not much smaller.
Not that much smaller. That's a big bird, man. But I mean, for what I do and what Aaron does, and for what you do, Tyler, is completely useless
to any of us. Yeah, no, but it's just cool that it exists.
unless you're killing jacks out in the open, it's just too big and cumbersome.
Or sage grouse like that, like Patrick.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a sage grouse in person, but it would probably beat the shit out of a goshawk, right?
The males will. Females not really, but the males are like 5-6 pounds. They're not little, and they know how to fight.
That's pretty cool. That's a whole thing that I want to experience one day that I've never got the chance to do.
Steve Chingren's book, The Art of Sage Grouse Hawking, that's one of the best falconry books I've ever read.
And then the photos are also well done too.
That's a big part of it. Is it's just a gorgeous book, and like his stories are actually captivating. Casey's never read a book, actually. I think he read the Hardy Boys when he was a teenager. But
bro, I just look at the pictures and I figure out what they're talking about through the pictures.
Dude, he sent me a picture of the new Magic Treehouse books he was reading.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
You gotta have the pictures.
Still reading them?
Still trying to get through them. A lot of words.
Maybe Harry can read them when you're done.
Oh yeah, dude. He's still in diapers, that kid.
So
so
Tyler's living in New Mexico now. I've driven through New Mexico a couple times, and I was telling Casey earlier that, you know, it's a very strange place in my opinion. No offense.
Oh no, it's strange, and they like it strange. Like they want it to be strange.
That's good. I remember stopping at an exit to get some gas, and I just see this dude stumbling around like wearing sweatpants. You know, he looked like a zombie version of Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and I just said, "Nah, fuck that," and just turned around and got off on another exit.
That's New Mexico, man.
and then you know, hour later, I see two golden eagles on power lines, just in the most remote, gorgeous landscape you could ever ask for. So,
and it's so different too. Like New Mexico changes so like. A lot of states in this country, like most of the state is the same, you know, whereas like New Mexico, like you drive an hour in any direction and it's completely different.
So what's the craziest shit that's happened to you in New Mexico?
Oh my God. The other than finding dead bodies out hawking.
All right.
No way.
Stop there.
We got to hear this.
It's happened more than once. We did a falconry meet here 2 years ago, and there was a dead body found in the field. And then when I first moved here, we found pre-dug graves with a dead body.
Oh my God. Were they like overdoses or like they were murdered?
I don't know. I didn't follow up. The last one, they think it was some guy had dementia and wandered off, but the first one that I found when I moved here, I never followed up on what had happened.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'd love to get like submissions from people, like all their dead body stories, because there's no way that.
Dude, the Coulsons have like half a dozen.
Yeah, I'd love to hear those stories. Teddy has one. The guy committed suicide, hanging in the tree. She walked up on him.
There was a guy in California today it wasn't a falconer, but a guy was out hunting jackrabbits and found a dead body.
Oh my God.
It wasn't even like a body anymore. It was like a skeleton.
Dude, that's so crazy, dude. I mean, we falconers, we find ourselves in some weird, sketchy places. And you were telling me that you have a little bit of an issue with like packs of wild dogs. Anything worth telling there? Anything crazy?
I mean, you got to deal with them how you got to deal with them. But like, there's certain fields that I won't hawk alone because there's feral dogs that will. Not only will they come in and like attack your dog, like they'll kill you. Like they're not afraid. They're not afraid of people. They're definitely afraid of gunfire, but they're not afraid of people.
And you stay strapped, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would never go hawking here without a gun. There's no way.
One of the dogs I produced, it was killed by two stray pit bulls. A falconer was hunting with it. They grabbed his dog and just killed it immediately, and he was strapped, and he killed the dogs afterwards.
Good for him.
That's always a big fear of mine.
Where was that?
North Carolina.
Oh, wow. It's really bad here. I mean, there's only like 2 breeds of dogs here. It's like, or maybe 3. Cattle dogs, pit bulls, or chihuahuas, or a mix of the 3. Like that's the only dog that exists here.
There's actually native wild dogs here called Carolina dogs. You guys ever heard of those?
Yes, I did watch some documentary on like Netflix about it, that they're like wild and they live in the mountains or something like that, like the Blue Ridge Mountains. Is that?
No, they're at the coast.
Okay, never mind. Forget it.
I was telling you, the coast of North Carolina is it's fucking wild, man. There's like more black bear there than anywhere else.
Jersey is the most densely populated, but yeah, I heard the same thing.
Maybe it's the most densely populated, but the coast of North Carolina has more.
Yeah, oh yeah, that makes sense. But Jersey has more bears per square mile than any other state. It's infested. I found three.
Did they bring back bear hunting? Because I remember when I lived in Jersey, it was like everyone's bumper sticker was like, "Save the bears."
Yeah, and then they go to my brother shot one a couple years ago, and then they go to the check-in stations and harass you. Like, they don't go into the checking station, but they stay out like in the parking lot and like harass you and call you a murderer and stuff while you're going in. Because in Jersey, when you shoot a bear, you gotta bring it to the check-in station and it has to get inspected. So, but yeah, last year there was a bear hunt. Last year and the year before, what I heard through the grapevine is that the Game Commission was like, or an organization were suing Murphy to open it because it was becoming such a huge problem. And he finally like relented and couldn't ignore the science anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I live in New York now, but I live 30 seconds from Vernon, and Vernon is infested with bears. And we first moved in here. I mean, I was posting videos like every single night of a different bear knocking my garbage can over. You know, it's just like out of control.
That's crazy. I know the world record for black bear was New Jersey.
Was it? I think I heard something like that. It's like 500.
It was like 7.
No, 7. Yes, it was 7.
I mean, here, like 400 or 500, a big bear. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure that bear in Jersey was just eating bagels behind a bagel shop.
Yeah, just going to Dunkin' Donuts after they close and ripping those bags open.
Tyler, I know you get into different forms of hunting. You're not just a falconer. Have you ever got into lion hunting or bear hunting?
I've got buddies that lion hunt. Like my buddy Chad Reynolds lion hunts a good bit, and I go with him a good bit. And then a buddy of mine, Justin Zemke, that lives down the street, I go with him a fair bit too now. So,
how many dogs does Chad have now?
Dude, he's got more than me. I don't know, man. When you get a lot of dogs like that, I don't know, the number changes so much that I don't know what he has.
Right.
I'd say he has probably around 20.
I listened to him on the Houndsman podcast, and he does a great job on that podcast. And he seems like he knows so much about, running all different kinds of dogs, like all different kinds, which is cool.
Dude, and he has the experience to back it up. Like anytime I have a dog question, I call Chad first. And a lot of people don't know Chad's background in dogs, but Chad's been training like military dogs since like the early 2000s. Chad's got an extensive history in police dogs and fight dogs and stuff like that, and sight hounds and hounds and beagles and terriers, and he's had a little bit of everything. And like when Chad gets into something, he goes all in. So
typical falconer.
Yeah.
Just jumping right in and getting everything. Yeah. I find myself.
Seems like he dabbles in falconry, whereas we dabble in other things. We're primarily falconers. Just based on what I see of him on social media, it's just like a little bit of falconry and everything else is dogs.
He doesn't post a lot of his falconry. He had a really good chamber goshawk that he flew over Yag Terriers for a long time, and then he had a Gyr Falcon hybrid that he flew over his sight hounds on jacks.
That's
and
cool.
that bird was pretty damn good. And his goshawk was one of the coolest birds I've ever seen fly cottontails. Like it did the wing overs and the flare ups in the sage, because like hunting bunnies in the sage is honestly, to me, it's harder than the jacks can be. The bunnies in the sage are real good at getting away. They just have so much cover, and it looks like a bush, but it's enough to stop a truck. Like some of the sage that we have, it's not as soft as it looks. So like when bunnies run through it and squirt through it, it's like a bird hitting a fence. I don't know what his plans are. I think he's gonna fly another bird on jacks over his sight hounds. I think that's what he's gonna do next.
Long wing or accipiter?
I don't think he's made up his mind on what he wants to do.
Doing like the traditional, it'd be West Asian, like Kazakhstan falconry with sakers and sight hounds. Is it sakers or lanners? Which one is
saker?
It?
I think it's
sakers.
They use sakers. I've always wanted to do it. I just don't. It's hard for me to pull away from the bird dogs and then like invest that same energy into sight hounds. So
let's talk about that a little bit. Get into the more like nitty gritty of what you're doing and what makes you tick now. So I remember years ago, you had like Trigger and then a couple other bird dogs, but they weren't setters though. Did you always have setters, or is this a new thing? Because now you have quite a few of them, right?
I've always had at least one setter. I used to have more Wieslas than setters.
Okay.
And then what happened was Trigger was my first Vizsla. I bought him as a field trial washout. He was like a half-trained dog that just wasn't good enough for the competitive side of things. And I needed a bird dog. Because I wanted to hunt quail. And I didn't have time to train. Like, I didn't have time to raise one up. So I got Trigger. And then I kept adding Vizslas after Trigger, and they weren't as good. But then I had setters too, and I had less washouts with my setters than I did Vizslas. So I just kind of went all in on the setters.
Okay, so when you say washout, like the setters, just in your opinion, is just a better dog for what you're trying to do? Where they hold better, they find the covey better? Like, what is it about them that's better?
I mean, a Vizsla is going to handle generally easier than a setter will. A setter's a little bit more full of fire, and they're going to cover a lot more ground than a Vizsla. But when I say a washout, I mean, it can mean a number of things. Like, I had a Vizsla that got hit by a goshawk one time and would not hunt around
they're softer
again. Yeah, and they can be a little bit softer. I mean, Trigger will ride into battle with a hawk sitting on his head. He does not care. But that was not the average I learned with a lot of the Vizslas I had.
Okay.
And then my setters, they don't hunt as close as the Vizslas. So they don't really get in the hawk's way as much. So
okay,
the hawk doesn't really take it out on the setters like they will the Vizsla that's close by. But washouts, I mean, it could mean a lot of things. A dog just won't range. A dog doesn't. Out here, the desert's really sharp and it breaks dogs down.
Yeah.
And then we have these things called goat heads that will stop some dogs from completely hunting.
Jeez.
I've had a few Vizslas that just shut down in that stuff. And then
goat head is a type of cactus, I'm guessing.
It's an invasive weed, but what it does is it drops these, like, they're about the size of a Skittle, but they're sharp on all sides. And it'll like carpet areas.
Oh,
and some
dude.
Yeah, and they hurt. They're so strong too that they'll stick into the tires on your truck. Like they're not. They don't like fall apart. So yeah.
So they're getting stuck in the dog's feet, and you got to constantly pull them out. And some dogs it just puts a bad taste in their mouth, and they don't want to deal with it anymore. Is that?
Yeah, and so like where they grow, they'll grow in patches. And like if a dog just pushes through it and runs past that area, they're fine. But sometimes dogs hit that area, they lay down in it, then they roll in it and they're eating in it. It's just like a snowball effect of a problem.
Yeah, what happens if they eat those?
They generally will throw up a pile of them later.
Why are they eating them?
Trying to get them out of their feet.
Oh, they're pulling them out and chewing them and then okay, got it.
Yeah, and then it gets stuck in their tongue and then they swallow it, and it's just a nightmare.
Jeez.
Yeah, goat heads and sandburrs, I would pay an insane amount of money to make vanish from the earth.
Nice.
Now, you've been hunting in Kansas, I'm sure. Are those the same things in Kansas, western Kansas?
No.
Sandburrs?
So our sandburrs are the same as their sandburrs, but goat heads are different than sandburrs. So goat heads are they're like as hard as a rock. You know how sandburrs kind of like, you can kind of crush them if you step on them or something like that. I mean, they're sharp, but...
Yeah, and if they're wet, they're not much of a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So they're similar, but they're more of a pain for different reasons.
You should mail us some of those goat heads. We'll plant them in some enemies' fields.
Yeah.
It would take over.
So you have you rotate dogs out pretty regularly because of that, huh?
I generally, yeah. So most of my dogs will hunt every other day. I try to give dogs a day off or 2 days off, because a normal hunt here for me is on average about 6 miles. And so the dogs are usually doing anywhere from 20 to 35 in that time frame.
God.
Funny you say that, because the dachshunds are usually doing twice what I do. So yours are doing 3 times?
So if I'm walking like 1.8 to 2.5 miles an hour, they're usually going about 12 to 16 for that whole time. And they don't stop.
How often do you deal with rattlesnakes out there?
Pretty often in the early season. Like till November, they're pretty bad, honestly. I hate raising a new bird because I have to risk my dogs to put my bird on game. But once my bird's intermewed, I won't hunt an intermewed bird here in September, October. The rattlesnakes are just too bad.
What kind do you have out there?
We have blacktails, we got lepidus, we have prairies, diamondbacks. Most of what I see are prairies with some diamondbacks. I've seen a few blacktails. I've never seen a lepidus while I'm out hunting.
Are the prairies, is that deadly to a dog?
Yeah, they kill dogs. And they are very bitey. Like diamondbacks will rattle and warn. Prairies just like full of piss and vinegar and just want to bite anything that's near them. And I'm not a fan of running into them while hawking. And I like rattlesnakes. I don't want my dogs to get bit.
Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a snake guy too.
Yeah, me too. I think most falconers have they have a little bit of an interest in the herpetology department also. It's crazy the percentage that like are into reptiles and into birds of prey. It's like a huge crossover.
Then you run into the ones with no curiosity about anything.
Yeah, not even falconry. They just don't care about anything.
They just want to kill squirrels in parks.
Yeah. So Tyler, tell us. Okay, so you used to fly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to fly more urban air. Because you used to fly in Missouri and that was urban. But then when you went to New Mexico, I remember a couple times some of your birds would catch quail like up against someone's porch or like on their stoop, which were pretty fun videos to watch. But now you seem to just be literally in the middle of nowhere. Is that like, tell us about that.
I won't fly the urban stuff anymore. There's one field left near my house that a lot of quail, once there's houses in sight, they know how to use them. And like, unlike a rabbit, I mean, obviously quail can fly. They're really good at flying. Like the only trees you'll see in a lot of desert environments are like in people's yards. So like they're flying to the trees in their yard, and the areas that have quail are kind of rougher neighborhoods and no one speaks English. And I got tired of hopping fences in neighborhoods that no one speaks English. Like, it's just a bad situation all around. Everyone has dogs that live outside here. Like, there's 3 rescue pit bulls in every yard barking.
God.
And then, like, my dogs will follow my hawk off a cliff if they have to. And so there was a few incidents I had where my dogs jumped 8-foot block walls to get into the yard with my hawk. And like now, like it's one thing to have my bird in their yard, but to have my dogs in their yard is kind of like a shit show.
Yeah,
and
I can imagine.
I can't deal with it anymore. And then my last goshawk, I got him back, but he got stolen by someone that he had caught a quail in their yard.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
And they had cut his equipment off, and just little things like that. And like, you guys know how hard it is to make a good goshawk. Like,
oh yeah.
It was like playing Russian roulette, and I just don't want to play Russian roulette with a goshawk. Like, I really want to fly the same goshawk for like 10 years. I don't want him to fly into a sliding glass door in someone's backyard.
Elaborate more on that story, please. You don't just leave us hanging. So so somebody found him in their backyard on a quail and grabbed him?
I mean, obviously I'm flying with GPS, but I usually fly with a micro under his tail, so I have a backup transmitter. And so I saw my bird go over. Usually it's the first row of houses that the quail will go to. Like, they're not going to go deep into the neighborhood, you know? Okay. And so the way they do neighborhoods in the desert, like, there'll be an 8-foot concrete wall around the whole neighborhood. So the only way you can get in, you have to like go out of the neighborhood and then like in on a street. So my hawk had chased a quail over a block wall, and I couldn't see what was going on, so I had to run all the way around. But then I had to tie up 3 of my dogs so they didn't follow me. I get all the way around, and I'm walking down the street where my transmitter said he was, and a quail walks by me with absolutely no feathers on it other than its head and neck. And I was like, what the hell? And like, it looked like a rotisserie chicken running down the street. Like, it was already completely plucked. And I was like, all right, this is weird. And so it's showing him in someone's yard, and I can't see him, and I can see pretty good in their yard. And there's two guys in the yard working on some like junk cars. And I knocked on all the doors around, and I kept asking, I'm like, have you seen this bird? Have you seen this bird? And I tried to ask those guys, and they're like, no habla español. And so I called my buddy who's a game warden on speakerphone, and I said, hey, are you going to come down here? My transmitter's showing in this yard, but they won't let me in. And they must have overheard me on speakerphone, because as I was talking to him on the phone, I see like, and it's getting dark, like I hunt evenings, and so I see a bird fly up to the telephone pole above their house and rouse. I call my bird down to the lure, and he's got no anklets on, and his GPS is gone.
Oh my God.
I was like, and my GPS hadn't moved, and I was like, what the hell? And I knew he was in the yard because the backup transmitter said he was in the yard. And then so I walk down the end of the street, and I come back, and the anklets that were cut and the GPS were like perfectly in the middle of the road, like they had thrown them or something.
Oh my God.
Once they heard game warden, they just didn't want to get involved. So yeah, I got my bird back. He had no equipment. And then so I had to cast my goss, because it's dark. He's going to fly up to roost. So I had to cast my bird.
Oh my God.
He had no anklets on, and I'm in a neighborhood.
Goshawks love being cast.
Yeah, so I had to cast my bird and wrap my sweatshirt around him and like look ridiculous, and then go get my dogs that are tied up in the desert, and then go to the truck.
Jesus,
and that was kind of like one of the final straws where I was like, I just don't want to hunt the urban stuff here anymore. Between the homeless encampments, that stuff, the dogs, like I drive an hour to 2 hours one way out into the desert, and I go hunt in the desert now.
God.
Let's talk a little bit about the urban hawking and the homeless stuff, because those are the days where I get so fucking pissed off, because I go out, to like an industrial lot in town. I run into some random ass lady. One time I sent a video to Casey of, I'm like sitting there and my bird is feeding up on the lure, because I saw this lady. She has like a pack of dogs, and they're all just little like mutts. And then she sees me crouched down with the hawk, and she like grabs her dogs and freaks out and runs. I've had people with a German Shepherd on a leash. They lose control of the dog, and it attacks my dogs. And the guy was like, we have a leash law here. And I had to be like, cite the law, which people, that always freaks people out when you're like, I'm engaged in illegal sporting activity right now. My dogs do not have to be leashed. You need to get control of your dog. So it's those days where I'm like, fuck this. I'm moving to New Mexico or, Arizona or whatever, because the public land that you guys have access to out there just like trumps anything that we have.
Don't get me wrong. We got 6 million acres of public land, but like to get to the public land from a major metropolitan area that has quail on it, you're looking at like an hour and 15 minutes minimum.
Wow.
So
you're getting out of work and you're just cruising. You're just jumping in the truck with the dogs and going.
Yeah. So I'll have the dogs with me. The bird will be already loaded, and then 3 o'clock rolls around or 2 o'clock rolls around. And I'll start driving south.
So now you saying your ladder got stolen last time you were hawking in town.
Yeah. It was like, so I saved this one field that's near my house. I do have one field that's 15 minutes away, and there's only like a dozen coveys of quail. So like I try to be real light on it. The last time I hawked it, someone stole my ladders off my truck, and it like, it's whatever. I've had my ladder stolen a lot over the years, but it pissed me off. Those 2 ladders were like the ladders I started my own company with. So I was like, come on, man. Like, that was like my one piece of equipment that like I had like some sentimental value in.
Yeah.
Is that normal out there?
It can be, yeah. Like they usually won't, like if it's not tied down, they'll take it kind of thing. But they're not gonna generally they won't break your windows and go through your. I mean, if you left like an iPad on the center you kind of asking for it at that point. But
it's so weird how the culture is different. The East, at least down here in the South. Yeah, people will steal stuff, but I'd be really surprised if I came back and my ladders were gone off my truck.
It was funny because I entered my current goshawk up in Montana, and I was so like paranoid about locking stuff. And I had a buddy that was kind of used to going up there, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, no one steals stuff here." I'm like, "Oh yeah, not in New Mexico anymore."
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like by me. I don't have to worry about nothing. I don't even have to lock my doors when I go to the field.
What
So,
about in Jersey, South Jersey?
South Jersey. I remember Harrison got his hitch stolen, and he still talks about it to this day. And it was like 3 years ago. But yeah,
it depended on the hitch. It
was a nice hitch. Yeah,
some of them are like a couple $100.
Yeah, he said it was like a $300, $400 hitch for like his, all his equipment.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I'd be pissed about a $400 hitch.
Yeah. So now, Tyler, you have your own business now. So that I would imagine, because I have my own business too. So I would imagine that helps you get out in the field more. Or am I mistaken?
It does, because now I control the scheduling completely.
So I'm talking about
if my day's full and I'm not working late, I don't care, unless it's like a massive project that I have to do. But
right,
on average, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll just start earlier the next day. 2:00 rolls around, I'm flying my goshawk. I don't care.
Dude. And I've gotten to the point that, and I'm sure you're the same way, but I treat my falconry like a scheduled activity that's on my agenda. So like,
I do too.
It's like I have to go. I have an appointment. I have to make it. This and that. This is not an emergency. I can be there. I tell my customer, I'm like, I got another job after this. I gotta get going. I'm not like walking out of customers' houses, but I'm actively treating my falconry as like something that's on my schedule that has to be done that day.
When I started doing that, it took my falconry to like a much better level. Like even if I'm not gonna hunt, I'm gonna at least go feed my bird. Like I try not to feed my bird late. Like, nope. If I'm not gonna hunt, I'm gonna at least feed my bird at the same time.
I don't know, Aaron, if you want to get into this, but I'm curious, Tyler, like how you do your imprinting. Obviously you make good birds, the years that you've made birds. But I don't know if I'm getting off topic. Aaron, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about homeless people?
I love talking about homeless people.
Let's talk about homeless people for an hour.
Yeah, can we do a homeless people episode?
Dude, I don't know why everybody complains about homeless people, because I'm like, just give them like $5 each and just put them to work in the field like a little homeless army just beating brush. Dude,
last time I ran into homeless people, there's this, it used to be a really, really good field, and they built apartments there, and there's still part of it is what it originally was, and there's this massive like a mountain of dirt, and there's always rabbits on the mountain of dirt. But I come around the corner, and there's these people with like a 20-person tent set up over there. I don't know why they were using piss jugs, because they could have just pissed out in the woods, but they had like piss jugs laying everywhere. Just like the air just reeked of piss. And the dude he pops out, I don't even give him a chance to ask what I'm doing. And I'm just like, hey man, I'm just flying my hawk. And he goes, oh, that's what the bells are. I said, yeah, I'm just trying to catch some rabbits. He goes, that's awesome, man. And I was like, yeah, have a good one, bro. I don't care as long as they leave me alone. Like, I'm not technically.
They're probably making jenkem or whatever that is.
Yeah, they're making that wine that you make in jail, right?
Oh no, jenkem is like fermented human waste that they like inhale and hallucinate on.
Damn.
I'm not even joking, dude.
Oh shit, bro. Oh,
maybe that's what he was doing, because they didn't have to have piss in jugs. They could have just pissed right there in the field.
Bro, that guy doesn't even remember he saw you, dude. It was a hallucination the whole time.
Yeah, he was fine. Homeless people are never shitty with me. And if I pass by a tent, I just like call out, hey, don't mind me, I'm just passing through.
Hello to the camp.
No, they've never been shitty to me, but like, I don't want to like rope 3 dogs from running through their camp in. No. Like, I had an incident like 7 years ago. Zoid stole like a ribeye off one of their like ghetto grills that they had made. They had like flipped a shopping cart on their side, and they were like grilling steaks.
That's old
Zoid
school.
ran over there and stole a steak, and we got chased out of there with like paint poles and like shovels.
Oh my god.
Like, sorry, dude. Like you had a steak outside and my dog ate it.
Yeah, man, I'll go buy you a new one. Chill out.
Anybody else ever get physical with either of you guys in the field?
I've had guns pulled on me, but I had one guy swing on me in Missouri. That I forgot about that. He
Tell us more
Fuck 'em
about
up?
that.
You fuck them up?
do you know when your dachshunds are like excited and they like vibrate and like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
look like they're shivering, but they're just hype?
Every day. Yeah.
Well, my falcon had caught something it shouldn't have, so I went to my falcon and Zoid was running around and like being a dachshund. So I like didn't pay it. I was like, I'm gonna go get my bird. I'll come back for the dog. Well, in that time, some hippy dippy dude on a beach cruiser picked Zoid up and called the phone. And I was dealing with my falcon that had caught like another bird of prey that it was kind of it was a headache, and he called, and I was real short with him and I shouldn't have been. I understand this now, but I was like, yes, it's my dog. Can you just put him down? Like, I'm right here. Like, I know where you're at. And he was like, excuse me? And I was like, listen, bud, I'm out hunting. And he's like, this dog is shivering and it's covered in mud. And I was like, oh my God, please just put the dog down. He's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm straight across the field from you. I see you holding my dog. And he's like, I don't see you. And I was like, well, I see you, bud. You're in shorts and you have a helmet on. And so I walk over there and I get my falcon clipped up and I'm hitting the vibrate button on Zoid's collar to make him like squirm like a little weasel out of the dude's arms. And eventually Zoid reached over and bit the dude.
Good.
The guy dropped him. And he's like, you bit me. And I was like, you were holding the dog that's not yours. And so I get Zoid over to me. He's under my right arm. And then I got my falcon clipped to my left, obviously. And I'm walking away. And out of the corner of my eye, the bird baits. And this dude's winding up to throw like a haymaker at me.
Like from behind?
From behind, dude.
Oh,
And
typical hippy dippy guy is going to get you from behind.
Yeah. So I dropped Zoid and I drew a pistol and he's like, wow, you're going to draw a gun? I was like, you were about to punch me in the back. Like, you don't get to say who's the coward here, bud.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm calling the police. And I was like, cool, I'm calling the game warden. He ended up getting a ticket for hunter harassment. So
Oh, good. Good for you.
I waited like an hour and a half for the game warden to show up.
Oh,
I'm like, this
yeah.
dude picked up my dog, called me, refused to put my dog down, and then tried to assault me. And so, yeah, he ended up getting a ticket for hunter harassment.
Good for you. Yeah, man.
Casey, you had a classic confrontation that you caught on camera.
Yeah, I have a whole list of them, and I debate whether or not to post them with the dialogue because it gets a little spicy. But yeah, I had one guy. He accused me of I had a Merlin on my front seat of my work truck, my van, on a bow perch, and I was pulling vines, chasing squirrels with that Karen goshawk, and he pulls in. Dude looked like a poacher. It was like an area you can't hunt deer. It's like there's probably a place you're not really allowed to hunt regardless, but it's like a big nature center, like in the center of like this town, and there's a million squirrels there. So I mean, I've been flying places like that forever. So I'm in there, and he drives in the cul-de-sac. You know, it's a cul-de-sac, super quiet. There's like office buildings on one side and just giant, patch of woods on the other side. And he pulls in and he gets out of the car. He pulls up and rolls the window down and he starts asking me if he can help me. And I'm like in the woods and I'm like, what? And he's like, can I help you? I'm like, no. And there's like a trailhead, like it says like nature walk. And then he gets out of the car and starts looking at my windows and I literally have it. He goes, what the fuck is this hawk in your car? You're using it to try to find big bucks? It's a tracking bird. He literally says it's a tracking hawk to track big bucks. I said, are you I was like, are you fucking stupid? Like I have the whole audio, but I didn't post it because I go a little hard on him. And then he just kept going for like 30 minutes. I had like a 30-minute video on my GoPro. It ended up dying. And like my goshawk is in the tree, like above me, just sitting there. He has no clue that it's there. And he just keeps harassing me, just like convinced that I was trying to like poach deer. And I'm like, dude, I don't have anything on me. I'm standing here in a work shirt and a pair of, jeans and boots. I said, I'm just in the walking trail. I said, I didn't tell him I was hunting. And then he ended up seeing the bird and then he wanted to be my friend. He pulled down the street and like stopped. And then I called the bird. Then I said, fuck this, we're leaving. And then like when he saw the bird come down, and obviously it's this giant white bird, so he sees it. And then he like pulls back around, and I thought he was gonna go even more crazy. And he starts apologizing, telling me, "Oh, that's so cool," and starts trying to be my buddy. But yeah, then I had the one guy. I wasn't even on his property. I have a million. Like I could go on for an hour. I had like, and all of it's like me in like a park or like a power line cut with houses that butt up against it with fences. And like I'm on the power line cut, like running my dogs, and these people come and they put their head over the fence and they're like, "What are you doing back here?" And I'm just walking my dog, and they're like, "It doesn't look like you're walking your dog." I'm like, "Well, there's a dog, and I'm walking." It's like, you know what I mean? Like, what can I do for you? And I'm like, "Is this your I'm like, "I'm so sorry if this is your property. I'll get out of here." And they're like, "Oh no, it's not." I said, "Okay, so then, relax." I said, I'm not a. I always tell people like I'm not a, because falconers, we look like creeps. You know what I mean? Like we're like skulking.
Speak for yourself, dude.
Dude, we all look like creeps. We're like skulking around through the brush with like weird outfits on, and especially the guys on the East Coast.
Dressed like Ranger Rick.
Yeah, or dressed like a homeless guy with ripped flannels. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I just tell them now. I just say, listen,
sponsors.
Oh yeah, because they have like Tyler was saying, they have like nostalgia for their gear, so they just keep wearing it. It just looks like horrendous. And yeah, you just and then always when they see the bird, they always I've had people say, "Let the bird go, leave that thing alone. You shouldn't have that. Are you allowed to have that?" I get the question all day long. So now I finally moved to a more rural area. Now I don't have to deal with it, thank God. But no one's ever tried to fight me. I've told him. I said if you want to fucking go, let's go. I like all the time, like at least 3 different times. I'm like, I don't know where this conversation, where you think it's going, but if you want to fucking fight, like let's just do it. Like, what do you think you're gonna accomplish right now? Like I've done it, like, it's just, oh my God, I get my blood pressure going just thinking about it. So I had to move. So I just moved. I moved out into the middle of nowhere now. So now I hunt like big open fields and ag areas and hedgerows, and I rarely have to deal with anybody.
Your the encounter I was talking about was the guy you just encountered.
Which one was that?
The dude in his backyard. I guess it happens to you enough that you don't even remember this. He was like in his backyard, and you're standing there arguing with the cops.
Oh yeah. It was a HOA, and they owned. It was like, so it's like these ugly they bought out a farm, bulldozed the poor thing, and put these disgusting, ugly track houses on it, and then there's all cover and brush in the middle, but it's technically owned by the HOA, but there's separate lots. So I'm like literally in the middle of this, working a hole. I'm just standing next to the hole. Ginger's working the hole, birds on my fist. And this guy comes out and just like starts like berating me. He doesn't even say, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "What the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out of here. I don't want you back here." And he goes, "This is my property." And I pull base map out. And I go, "Yeah, no, I have an app that tells me where your property line is, and your property line is like 40 feet that way. So thanks. Have a good day." And he goes, "What the fuck? What are you fucking doing back?" And it just kept escalating. And then the cop came, like 3 cops came, and there were 2 of them up talking to him. One guy comes down to me, and he was trying to be, nice, but then he started asking for my ID and stuff. And I didn't post that one either, because I think when an officer asks for your ID while you're in the activity of hunting, you're supposed to give it to him. But I told him, I said, "Dude, I didn't do anything wrong. I was watching some Long Island audit." So I got all, I said, "It's a free country." I said, "I didn't do anything wrong. This guy's harassing me, and I'm not showing you my ID. I'm not doing anything wrong. You can literally see what I'm doing. And if you want me to leave, I'll leave." He's like, "No, you don't have to leave. I just try to figure out what's going on." I said, "What's going on is I'm flying my bird and running my dog. That's literally what's going on." And he starts asking me where I parked, how I got in. I said, "Dude, not to be rude, but I don't feel like answering any more questions. Like, I feel like I'm being harassed. I'm literally just standing here. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not in his property." And he's up there like pointing, and his wife is like up in the window. I'm just like, what the fuck, bro? I'm so sick of this. Yeah, that was like earlier season. I thought something just happened that I forgot about, but.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like long ago. I think, Tyler, I'm a school counselor, so I think that equips me to not get into conflicts with some of the people that I could.
Yeah.
So the sketchiest thing that's happened to me recently was I'm in a industrial lot, a cutover, and I hear whistling, and I just stopped what I was doing. I was like, "I hear you. Where are you?" And he goes, "Right here." And he was really close to me, and there was a dude sitting there in camo with a crossbow. And then he was like, he was like, "Do you have permission to be here?" And I was like, "Do you have permission to be here?" And he said, "Yeah, my buddy owns it." And I was like, "Who's your buddy?" And he goes, "Copperfield Properties." And I'm like,
It's my best friend.
"Yeah,
He was in my wedding.
my homie, Copperfield Properties."
Yeah.
So I was like, I said, "Oh well, yeah, man. I just anytime it's an LLC and there's no trespassing signs, I don't really worry about it." And I was like, "I'm sorry to disturb your hunt. I'll get out of your hair," and I just left.
Good for you.
Casey probably would have.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of good interactions. We always end up talking about the terrible ones, you know.
Yeah, because they stick with you. Yeah, I interrupted somebody's hunt 2 years ago, and I really felt bad because I didn't know he was there. And the guy climbs all the way down out of his stand, hikes across this like quarter-mile field, all the way up and over, and then he leaned his gun against the tree, which was nice. And then he like walked straight up to me, like almost like right in my face. And then I ended up taking the low road. You know, I did the right thing. I said, "Listen, man," I said, "I'm so sorry for interrupting your hunt." I said, "I was just running my dog." He goes, "You're not running your dog. You have a hunting license hanging off of your bag." He goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "This is private property." I said, "I didn't know it was private property." I said, it's posted, and I knew it was, but it was posted like, dude, whenever I go, whatever, I shouldn't even say it, but if you have a good, like, I told him, "Oh, I worked this whole field behind this shopping center and then cut into the woods." And I said, "There are no signs where you cut into the woods." He's like, "Yeah, I was telling the owner of the property he should put signs over there." I said, "Yeah, I didn't really know, to be honest." And then he saw the squirrel on the ground. He goes, "Well, what's with the squirrel?" To be honest with you, 100%, I'm trying to get my bird down. And it was when I had that stupid red tail, the baginator, and she was heavy and she was like taking forever to come down. And then she ended up coming down like right as the guy started walking back to his gun. And then it was like just a 35-minute conversation, just positive. And the guy was super cool. And he's like, "Yeah, go to the landowner, drive around, go up the driveway, knock on the door, just tell him, after gun season, I'm sure he'll let you fly your bird." So usually my interactions are not, very heated, but I usually just, not to go off on a tangent, but I have a rule now. I will respond to you first nicely. And if you respond aggressive, then I'll just respond in kind, and that's it. I don't think that's a bad policy to have.
No, I always try to like defer to be diplomatic, and then the minute they get disrespectful after that, I'm like, all right, we're gonna be disrespectful. All right, like this is how we'll handle this.
That's how I am, exactly like that. Yep.
I run into what you'll run into a lot of out here is a lot of places are public land, but people will have grazing leases on that public land, and then they'll act like they own it.
Right.
And because they own 6 cows, they think they're like Clint Eastwood, and so they'll like roll up on you with
"Get off my land,"
revolvers. Yeah, and they're like, "Get off my land." And I was like, "Well, it's not your land." They're like, "Well, I have the lease," and I was like, "Cool, that allows me to be here too." So
yeah,
that's usually how that goes. But they initially try to like bully you off, and I'm like, "Dude, I can see who owns the land. I can see who owns the lease. Like,
yeah,
I'm still allowed to be here."
So if somebody leases the land for grazing, people are still allowed to hunt on that land?
Yeah, so if it's BLM, anyone can kind of do pretty much whatever they want. If it's state land and they lease it, you can't drive on it, but you can walk on.
Okay.
Then,
is that every state?
No, well, that's New Mexico. So we have state public land, and then we have federal public land here too. So there's like different rules for both.
Oh, got it.
Technically, state land, like you can't hunt non-game on unless it's another hunting season. So like rabbits and coyotes, you can't hunt. But if it's quail season, you can be out there and hunt those things.
Why does it make a difference for rabbits?
Because they're non-game, whereas like quail is a game species. So
how are they non-game?
They're non-game out there?
I
heard that too.
You can kill 1 billion rabbits a day here.
Bro, I'm moving. Bro, I'm about to move.
Yeah, you're about to have 2 new neighbors.
I'm about to move right now, bro. That's awesome.
Don't worry, we don't want quail. We just want rabbits.
Yeah, that's why I get along. That's how I get along with all the falconers here. I'm like, well, I saw rabbits here, and where'd you see quail?
There you go. Yeah, and they don't.
A lot of the falconers here, they don't. I'll hunt. I hunt rabbits, but like I don't. I look for quail, and then you find rabbits. So.
How many rabbits did you catch this year?
How many quail or how many rabbits?
Rabbits.
This bird only caught, I think I'd have to check my notes. He caught less than 20 cottontails this year. However, we have like the lowest amount of cottontails that I've seen in the 7 years I've lived here. So.
Oh wow.
So that's just a byproduct of your quail, were cottontails.
Yeah, it was, and then there's jacks too. This bird didn't catch any jacks, which I'm kind of glad. Like, I really don't want to like chase down a small goshawk getting dragged by a jackrabbit across the fucking desert.
Yeah.
I would just think a
They don't
jack
have
would
them.
just fuck up goshawks.
Especially male, like goshawks don't have long legs like a Harris hawk. Like they can't scissor a jackrabbit the way a Harris hawk can. So like they'll catch jacks, but like they get the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I've
don't
heard
have
that.
any interest in chasing them with my goss. I just feel like it would destroy her feathers.
I'd like to catch one or two.
Oh, they're fun. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd be stoked to catch one, but like I'm not gonna raise a male goshawk on purpose with the intention of catching jackrabbits. You're asking for full tail of broken feathers or a dead bird.
Are you holding your bird back if you flush cottontails? Like if you get like a foot flush, are you holding him back?
No, I don't hold him back at all.
Okay.
He has a preference now for quail and huns, and he just likes feather now. I really wanted to fly him on ducks. I just didn't want to risk the bird flu stuff.
I don't blame you.
Bird AIDS. I stayed away from it too, and I had plenty of opportunity this year.
Yeah, it's not worth it to me. Like until it's been fizzled out for a while. Like there was too many people that lost birds to it this year that I was like, I'm not losing a bird that I just spent a whole summer raising.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I have another question while we're on the topic of quail hunting and being in the desert. So I don't know much about bird dogs at all, but I know obviously when your dog goes on point, it has a hot scent of some sort of a game bird in the area. So now I think a lot of people would appreciate a little bit of like insight into the whole situation. How do you know, and I asked you this personally outside of this conversation, but how do you know how far away the quail is or the covey? How do you know where it is? And is there ever a time where it's like the dog is pointing one direction and it's actually 40 feet to the right? Like how can you talk us through that?
So you get a dog on point, right? And so you learn to read the wind a lot running bird dogs because they're not using ground scent, they're using air scent. If you get up to that dog and you can feel the wind coming a certain way, you're gonna know the dog's always gonna point from downwind into the wind that's blowing in their face.
Got it.
And then dogs kind of point differently when it's right under their nose. Like sometimes you'll see like the setters, like their tail will be curled up a little bit more over their back. If my setters look like that bird's like within like 4 feet of my dog. Whereas,
that's sick.
If the dog's like head up high, huffing scent, and its tail's back a little bit, and it's like poker straight, it could be 30 yards in front. It could be 80 yards. Like so.
Wow. Okay.
That's when I'll send like the terrier in to flush, because the birds are putting out air scent, but they're also putting down ground scent, and the terrier is gonna run in and use that ground scent and try to track to the birds if the dogs are already on point. So that way it just takes a little bit of the guesswork out. And like you get it wrong plenty. And it depends on the quail. Like Montezuma quail are different than Gambles and Scalies, and then like bobwhite are different than all three. Where they live, how far the dogs generally point, like all those things change with each species of quail. Like Montezuma quail like often are like 10 feet in front of the dog when they're pointing.
So the Montezuma will hold tighter for the point, and other quail will maybe try to sneak away while the dog's on point.
Yeah. So like all the other three will all pretty much, most of them will run here. Bobwhite's not as much as Scalies and Gambles, but they will do it. But Scalies and Gambles, you got to like get up to that dog point and then like get out in front of that dog and like haul ass, because Scalies and Gambles are not going to wait around for you. Like they're going to crawl off. And then like they'll crawl off and then they'll take off running. And
right.
Yeah, and that makes them fun too, because like every point is different how it's gonna go.
Now
the hawks
go ahead.
Good at stopping them from running time to time. Like if the hawk can see him, like he'll fly over to him and then like pitch up. And sometimes they'll come back, and that's when it goes really well. And then other times he tries to pound one on the ground, and it never works. Like
Right. Yeah.
they're just so dodgy on the ground, and then he misses it because he tried to poke it on the ground, and then the covey explodes into every direction, and it's
And
like
he's on the ground.
and he's just on the ground, like looking like, what happened?
Oh, that's the worst.
It's amazing to me how such a stupid little animal has figured that out. And I mean, all prey has, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Prey,
to survive.
They know what the fuck they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
100%.
They have. I'll send you guys the video after, but I have a video when I had Hash Brown when he was young, and it's a video of this scaled quail juking and dodging my hawk for like 45 straight seconds on the ground.
Oh my
And
god.
I put the Snoop Dogg music to it as it runs off into the sunset, and the hawk's just sitting there panting on the ground, like, what just happened?
That thing deserved to live at that point. Yeah, that's really cool
No,
because
absolutely.
I see your videos and I don't like. I'm like, how does he know where it is? Like how is this being set up? I'm not a bird dog guy, so I don't know. You know, a lot of I feel like a good majority of the falconry community, they're not privy to that kind of stuff. So that's cool that you said that. Now another question: when your dog's on point, are you aware of the species of quail that you're hunting at that time, or based on the area that you're in, or it could be all three of those?
It depends. Like some areas I hunt have all three of the desert species.
So you don't know what you're going to get. So
Yes, and some areas I just have two, and then there's certain areas that like only have one. But then every now and then you'll get surprised. Like there was a few times this year where I found Montezuma quail. Where if you read a book about Montezuma quail, they should not exist. Like it's just the wrong habitat. Like it's wide open.
Quail didn't read the book.
Yeah, the quail didn't read the book, but it's just funny. Like that's what keeps it fun for me, because like I'm not just chasing one species of quail. I'm out there looking for 4 species of quail, and like
that is cool. Yeah.
Some days we'll catch. I've never caught 3 species in a day. The limit's 3
Of all species.
I've came so close, but like once he catches the 3rd bird, like you don't get to pick what species it is, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, right.
So you said three per
2
species?
No, it's 3 quail. Period.
Total.
Like it does. Yeah. The goal was to catch a Montezuma, a Scaly, and a Gambles all in the same day, and I've still
That'd be
never
cool.
done it. I've done 2 Montezuma and a Gambles, and then I've done like 2 Scalies and a Montezuma, or 2 Scalies and a Gamble, but I've never gotten a Montezuma, Scaly, Gambles. I've tried so hard this year too.
That's cool. Yeah.
Did someone mentor you on quail? Because I mean, your knowledge of these quail is phenomenal.
No one really mentored me. I mean, I hunted a lot of bobwhite with McDermott in Missouri, but then the first 2 years I lived here, I was really bad at catching quail. Like I just struggled through it, like, and kind of got obsessed with them. But then back then I was just really focused on Scalies. And then once I started to really figure Scalies out, I started to like broach out into the Montezumas here, and then the bobwhites that are here, because the bobwhites here are very different than like Missouri ones. And then I started to find better areas that have gambles. I mean, I hunt with a bunch of people, so like you can learn something from everyone, and that's one of the things I like about gun hunting, because like the quail side of things, there's a lot to be learned just on the dog part of it.
Right.
That it helps your falconry once you learn it.
What was your best resource for learning the bird dogs?
Traveling and seeing other people's dogs, honestly. Like I've gone and watched trials in Florida and trials in Wisconsin and Minnesota. I've watched trials in Colorado. I've ran dogs in trials in Colorado and here, and just seeing different dogs raised by different people in different parts of the country. There's so much to learn.
That's awesome.
So would you say the desert quail are as imperiled as the bobwhite are on the East Coast?
No, the desert quail aren't having any problems at all. When we get good rain, they do good, and then when the rain's bad, they're just not as good. But like they're not disappearing from the landscape like bobwhite are.
Now, does the bobwhite out west? I mean, I know there's plenty of bobwhite in like Kansas or Missouri, but further west. So like your bobwhite in New Mexico, how are they doing?
They're doing good. So bobwhite are very rain dependent. So like last year and this year was really good years for bobwhite here. And they're out in the sand dunes where like the lesser prairie chickens are, and they kind of overlap with scaled quail, which is cool because it's like the habitat they live in are these sand dunes with like mesquite and shinnery oak. It's a really unique looking area, and then there's a lot of yucca. So it's not like old farms, like you're out in the desert, but there's bobwhite. It's cool to see bobwhite in that area. Like if you're used to seeing them back east.
There's just so few bobwhite here anymore. I mean, you've seen on Facebook, there's guys who will fly hawks on like preserves after the season's over for gun hunting. But like truly wild bobwhite, there are so few. I caught one truly wild bobwhite one time, and I've told you about it. But they're so rare here. And it really kind of surprises me how rare they are.
They're just bobwhite are so picky on everything. Like everything has to be perfect for bobwhite to exist.
Do you ever get woodcock out there? That sounds like a stupid question because everything I know about woodcock says they need like marshy, wet places. But are there any in New Mexico?
No, so you got to go like the furthest west woodcock typically come is like. I mean, there's vagrants that have showed up in like downtown Albuquerque, but like their typical range is like East Texas is like kind of like the last western point.
Casey, you've caught at least one woodcock, right?
Yeah, I caught one with my hand, and then I caught.
Whoa! Slow down. What? You caught one with your hand?
Yeah, Mike Ottinger. You know, Mike Ottinger was there, and we have it on video somewhere. It was in the snow, so it was like you couldn't not see it. It was just sitting there. And I like laid on my stomach and like crawled right up to it and then just like pounced on it. And then we just all
break his little woodcock neck.
No, I didn't actually. I was super gentle. I grabbed him and then just like when you're holding a pigeon, I like made a super good grip but didn't squeeze, just like locked my fingers so he couldn't move. And we took a bunch of pictures, and then I served it for Miguel's goshawk, and it totally botched it and missed it, and then it took off. But
he deserved to get away after that.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad for the guy, and he was completely fine. He flew like a champ after I let him go. But my tiercel I had 2 or 3 years ago is similar cross to Tyler's bird. It was like a Butyoidis Russian or something. He was a great
yeah, that's bird. What mine is.
Yeah, he was an awesome bird. It really sucks that he got fried on a power line because he was such a good bird. He'd follow like a Harris hawk. He was just such a good bird. But yeah, Ginger actually was like working something, and I thought it was a rabbit, and she's yipping and getting and whining, and the bird is like so keyed in on her, her vocal, and he's moving up through the woods. He's over my head, then he moves up again, then he moves up again, and he's like right over me and the dog, and this thing just blows up like perfectly vertical, and then he just comes down like a rocket ship, like as tiercels do, and just not even like it was remotely a challenge, and just snatched it out of the air and then flew like 100 yards with it. And then when I got there, it was still alive and he was plucking it. And then I dispatched it, and I got the beak somewhere at my house.
I think they're the coolest little birds.
They're so cool.
Flushed many.
Dude, they're cool. I think catching one over dog point would be so cool.
Oh yeah. We get them a couple times a year in certain fields that we got. You go there at the right time, like in February, like earlier season, and then like in February, at the end of February, it's like you'll flush like 7 in one little area. It's awesome.
The cool thing about woodcock is like an area you flush one in 1 year, they'll be there every year. Like
exactly.
And they're all migratory, so you're not catching ones that live there.
And they migrate at night, I heard.
Yeah. You should watch the videos of them. They walk out into fields and feed at night, and they like call and have this little like they're such a cool bird.
Yeah, they really are.
I think that's something that people on the East Coast could tap more into, is hunting woodcock with hawks.
You need a dog though.
There was a guy. Dog. Yeah, there was a guy in Louisiana that caught him consistently with a male Harris hawk over like Brittany or something.
Yep, that was Teddy was telling me about that guy. He supposedly caught more woodcock than like anybody, and it was just one Brittany, one Harris hawk, and he would catch like however many you're allowed to, and every single day, all season long, or until they migrate.
Perfect bird for that, a little Tiercel Harris.
All right, let's not get carried away.
I mean, it's patient. It can sit there, you know.
My goshawk will sit there all day.
What do you think, Tyler?
I mean, I don't think I'd want to have a goshawk in southern Louisiana, but I think if you did do it, a goshawk. I mean, I think a Harris for southern Louisiana is definitely a better idea, but I would still try it with a goshawk.
For sure. I like that answer. What are your opinions on Harris Hawks? Good for the sport, bad for the sport?
I think they're great for a lot of people. I think I don't really care for the whole gang hawking with 6 Harris Hawks on one cottontail thing, but that's whatever. If they're having fun, it's just like the falconers I first got into falconry around were like big on that, and like there was like no sport in it at all, like gang banging a cottontail with 6 Harris Hawks and 3 dogs, like with a T-pole. Like, yeah, I'm good.
Once you see the T-pole, it's just so lame.
I don't really want to get shit on by my bird. Like, it's just so
lame. It's just so lame. Like, you pull that thing out and like if your bird can't catch it from the fist, then like it's just I don't know why. It just drives me nuts when I see that stupid T-pole.
I'm gonna bring a T-pole to Jersey next year and fly my.
I'm gonna get in my truck and I'm gonna leave.
No, I agree. You look absolutely ridiculous. Like, you look so dorky with the T-pole. I'm sorry to anybody that does it. You look fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
So
it's all for fun.
You know, the thing with Harris Hawks is I'm sure Tyler's seen it. Casey, I don't know about you. I'm sure you have. You just wouldn't admit it. I've seen people doing Harris Hawks well, you know, that have 1 or 2. Well, you know, Teddy's a good example of somebody who does it well. But somebody that has 1 or 2 birds that they have dialed in that are serious hunters, and they're not gang hawking with other people. They're doing their thing, and they've got good birds that are serious. To me, that's fine. It's just when you run into, you know, 3 to 5 Harris Hawks and you get with your buddies and you throw more up, that's when it starts to get ridiculous.
Yeah, but that every now and then with friends, that sounds like it'd be fun just for the fun of it, but not like every hunt doing that.
Yeah, that's fine, but then it's when you start talking shit and you're bragging and you act like you're something special because you caught 10 rabbits with 6 Harris Hawks.
To me, it's like bragging about kissing your sister at that point. You caught 10 rabbits, but you
don't be shy, Tyler.
Way.
Don't be shy.
You did it like if you're getting into it and like that's your intro, cool, but like make it harder. Like, all right, like you proved yourself. You caught 10 rabbits. Like, all right, now throw away the T-pole and go catch 10 rabbits with those same birds. Like, I don't know. It's just a pyramid of cottontails and like 6 Harris Hawks and a T-pole. It's like those photos don't look how you think they look. It's like like I said, like looking, it's like bragging about kissing your sister. Like cool.
Bro, my sister's so hot.
Yeah.
I'm from West Virginia, but thank God I don't have a sister.
Thank God for her.
Yeah, good for her. Good for her that she doesn't exist. So, Did you see the video Ian posted of the dudes out in Iowa? They had the T-perches and they each had 2 big female Harris Hawks.
Yeah, that guy's been a bad influence on my friend Ian. And
Ian said he's going from a goshawk to Harris Hawks. Like, it works. Yeah. It should work the other way, right?
Yeah. I'm very disappointed with him. I told him. He asked me my opinion. I said, listen. I said, it's, if there's ever a time to come out of the closet, it's 2024. I said, there's no judgment. I said, if that's what you want to do, you want to dabble, you want to experiment, and whatever.
Well, we know you're an ally, so.
Yeah, it just does nothing for me. I've never flown a Harris Hawk, so granted, I don't know, but I mean, they don't seem like they offer much of a challenge in terms of like their behavior in the field, their upkeep, their in the field. It just seems like it's like one of the easiest birds you can fly, and I think most people, especially most competent falconers that want to get better, like kind of like what Tyler was saying. I think a Harris Hawk is good for people like for myself when my kids get older, get a Harris Hawk for them or one, 2 of them, and we go out together as a family. Like that would be fun. But I think a young kid, like I told Harrison, a young kid, 20 years old, even 15, 16, and they're out there every day hunting. Like, there's really no reason for you to be flying a Harris Hawk. Like, you should be trying to get better. And I think a Harris Hawk is I think it's just gonna develop bad habits. That's my personal opinion.
I tell everybody to do what fills their cup, but like at a certain point, like if you're flying a Harris Hawk and you're doing well with it, like, all right, like make it harder. That's my thing. Like when I got into falconry, I had a group of roommates that each had a Harris Hawk, and we'd go all out and we'd fly one bird a person and fly squirrels with a group of Harris Hawks. And that was a shitload of fun, man. Like that was some of the most fun falconry I've ever like participated in.
Yeah, but it is fun. I've been on those hunts like that. It's fun.
But it was weird circumstances. Like, like they weren't all my bird or all someone else's bird, but we hunted together. We lived together. Like we were young in our 20s and we were roommates, and we had a ton of fun. Harris Hawks on squirrels are more dynamic than people are aware of. Like I love watching like a male female cast on squirrels. That's cool. But like, I don't know. I think more people should stick to red tails. Like if they're failing with a red tail, they shouldn't pick up a Harris Hawk.
That's right. So now, did you and your roommates with the Harris Hawks, did you guys all sleep in the same bed?
No, we all worked at the same place for this guy that's a nut job now, but
a guy that's mentally ill now, like, that is an actor or something.
Well, he pays to perform in movies. I don't know if you call that an actor, but
does he?
He's in C-list films that no one will ever watch.
Yeah.
Does he cruise around with a monkey on his shoulder?
The lemurs. Yeah.
Does he film himself in the gym and make really cringy videos?
I don't know. I had to unfollow it.
Damn, this is getting specific.
Man. It's hard to watch. It's really sad to watch.
If you can sit through 10 minutes without engine, something's wrong with you. Like,
you hear that, Casey?
That's hilarious.
He went wild.
Yeah, but he's a good guy. But yeah, something's going on.
He's a real piece of shit, but he's a good.
No, I don't think he's a piece of shit. I think he's a nice guy. I've talked to him. He's a nice guy, but it's definitely something's going on there. We'll keep him in our prayers. That's all I got to say. That's it.
Yeah, thankfully, I don't actually know the guy. I just know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm glad to not be associated with that anymore.
Yeah, I heard the NAFA meets were a lot of fun with that crew. And by fun,
that's funny you said that. I was just getting ready to ask Tyler what he thinks about NAFA and NAFA meets right now.
Oh, that's a good topic.
I've gone to almost every NAFA meet in the last decade. I missed like a few. And I purposely skipped Kearney, but
why?
NAFA is old. Kearney, Nebraska sucks, and it's put on by someone that I don't like, and he deserves to not be liked. But
what's the problem? Could you elaborate on that?
What are his issues?
The guy that put it on was a big time snitch and turned a bunch of falconers in for hawking in his area to game and fish and set them up, just stuff like that. Just
we don't like that. This podcast does not endorse snitching of any kind.
Yeah, I don't like people who call the cops on falconers. So that Kearney, Nebraska sucks. Like long story short, that like it's just like the shittiest part of Nebraska. Like Nebraska's a really fun state to hunt, not in Kearney.
No game or.
I'm not going to drive 12 hours across the country to catch fucking jackrabbits behind a target. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah.
No, if you want me to drive, what they said, there were no jacks to be had there.
That's wild because there used to be jacks in Kearney. But yeah.
But you know what they said? Somebody was telling me who went. They said that early on, that I'm assuming the falconer that you were referring to, he said, everybody knows where the jackrabbits are. We're not allowed to go there, so do not go there.
The hell?
Oh.
Sounds like a great meet.
That's the field behind the target in Kearney, Nebraska. It's full of jackrabbits.
That up on Onyx.
I'll pull it up right now on Google Maps.
But it's just silly, like, to have 200 people come to town and then, like, 60 of them hawk the same field because it's the easiest place to catch a jackrabbit. Like, that's not even like jackhawking to me. Like, if you want to catch jackrabbits, like, go catch them in the sage where they're plentiful and like they actually have cover. But like, these guys want to go out there at night and spot them with flashlights and then catch them at sun up in a grass field where they can't even, like, they have nowhere to go. Like, it's just, again,
Yeah.
like bragging about kissing your sister. Like, good job, dude. Caught a jackrabbit in a parking lot.
Yeah, I've never been to an AFA meet. I'd like to go this year. There is a chance that I could go.
I'm going this year. I have a lot of fun at them, man. Like, I've never had a bad time at an AFA meet. Like,
You bring your birds always?
Sometimes I bring my birds, sometimes I don't. Like, it's just as fun either way. Because like the years you don't bring your birds, you get out and like go see like the longwingers catch prairie chickens, or go watch longwingers catch ducks, or you can go see so and so's birds fly. But then if you have your bird, like you're always worried about, like, not only do I have to fly my bird at X time, I gotta get to a field from the field that I'm at. So like, I'll bring my bird next year if so there's quail and there's pheasant in where the Napa meet is next year. So
It's in Liberal, which to me is the craziest name for a town.
they don't even spell it the same way. It's like spelled different, I think. But yeah, Liberal, Kansas has jacks, cottontails, pheasant, quail. I don't think it has prairie chickens though.
I went to the one in Great Bend, Kansas, about 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was the one I skipped because Great Bend kind of sucks.
Yeah, it wasn't good. No jacks in Great Bend that we could find. And if you come from the East Coast, you're hoping to find jacks. So we found cottontails, and to me, the whole concept of going to a meet and finding your own places is weird. I don't mind doing the work myself, but it's like, if you got to find your own places, the NAFA meet is like one of the worst places to find your own places, especially in a state like Kansas that doesn't have BLM land.
Well, Kansas has Weehaw, so they got walk-in hunting access fields.
Weehaw!
Kansas has a lot of public land, surprisingly.
Really?
But yeah,
we found Weehaw. We found the walk-in hunting access land, and I found that people in states that have a lot of land, they're less protective over it. Here, every asshole teenager hunts on their grandpa's farm, like deer.
Right.
So you can never go there. But out there, they're like, yeah, I don't care. I've got 5,000 acres. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's very normal of the West. Like, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been told no after knocking on a farmer's door and anywhere in the Western United States, and I've hunted every state west of Indiana.
What's your go-to opening line when you're knocking on someone's door?
Oh, I always walk up to their door with a bird on my fist.
Okay. So step number one, take the bird out. I
never say I'm hunting quail. I never say I'm hunting pheasant unless they open that conversation. I always say,
you're after rabbits?
I'm after bunnies and rats, and you can kind of like feel them out that way. And they're like, yeah, we got a ton of bunnies. And then like sometimes they'll be like, there's some pheasant over in those cattails. Can your bird catch a pheasant? And I'm like, hell yeah. And then we'll like last year we hunted some private land in Montana, and I took like 20 kids out. I didn't know this family had this many grandkids. They're like, do you mind taking our grandkids if you hunt our land? Mind you, these people owned like 10,000 acres. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, no, I don't mind. And then 3 side-by-sides with kids rolled up, and we're like, oh my God. I was with Jake Thomas, and I got lucky. Like, they saw a group of pheasants put into this area. My dog goes down there, goes on point, and I walk in, and the pheasant didn't even get up to eye level. My bird had already like smoked it. And I'm like, cool, yeah, you guys saw falconry, and like, can I come back and hunt here? And they're like, yeah, you can come back and hunt whenever you.
That's
Not
awesome.
only did they all get to see it, it took me 5 minutes to show them.
That's awesome.
And then you sent them on their way.
It was getting dark, but like, I'm gonna go back there this year and hunt again. Like, I only touched like 5 acres of their like 10,000.
That's so cool. Yeah. All right. So when you're knocking on someone's door, step number one is you bring your bird to the door with you, so that you can have some sort of something that'll get their attention, and then get their guard to be lower their guard.
Yeah, a lot of I've had a few people that are like real weird about it, but then once they realize you're not hunting with a gun, they're like, yeah, I don't care at all.
That's good. Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked for permission. Ever.
Yeah, that'll get you shot here.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm told. I can get away with it out here because I'm just.
Well, the go-to line here is if you end up somewhere you're not supposed to be, is you're retrieving your bird.
Yeah, end up.
I mean, that works here too, but it's not a guarantee you won't at least get shot towards. It's just
Think of your last word as blood's pouring out of your mouth. I'm retrieving my bird.
People here aren't super weird about their land. What they are weird about is you being near their cows. That's usually why they get so crazy.
What kind of weird shit are people doing to cows out there?
Cattle theft is very big. Rustling cows is still death penalty out west.
Wow, good. It should be.
Yeah, no, they don't play with cattle theft. They just don't want you, because if their cows run through the fence and get hurt, or if your dogs are running around their cows and their cows take off running, they're wasting calories, and there's not a lot of grass here and just stuff like that, and they get paid by the pound when they sell them.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So NAFA meat we covered. I didn't, not that I want to go back to the dogs unless you guys don't want to, but I was curious how you bring up and train a fresh setter puppy. What are the steps? Because I know dachshunds, and as you know, you've ran dachshunds. It's pretty straightforward. It's a couple steps, and then you're out in the field letting them figure it out. But with
after a certain point, it's all exposure.
Yeah. So with setters, I'm curious to where are you starting from? Are you doing drags? Are you hiding stuff? What kind of stuff are you doing?
So you're planting pigeons for them, putting pigeons in cover that quail might be in someday. I only spend the first year usually gun hunting over them. They get a lot of one-on-one time with me in a shotgun, so that I can handle them. The hawk's going to teach them a lot of bad habits. Because they get to chase the hawk, so
right.
Keep up with the hawk, whereas they need to learn how to stand still and stand birds on point. I don't want to teach them to be flushing dogs that are 400 yards away from me. That it can get really bad really fast if you let a setter or any bird dog those habits of just flushing, because then you end up with a dog that's
useless,
a mile away from you, flushing everything out of the field. It's you need to get them to a point where you trust them to point quail a quarter a mile away and stand there until you get there. That. So
how are you doing that? How are you encouraging that?
When you're gun hunting them, if they point birds and then they flush them, you don't shoot. You let those birds fly away, and you let them knock. It's called knocking birds. You let them knock birds all they want, and when they start doing it right, then you start shooting, and then they get to retrieve a bird, and a bird falls out of the sky, and they're rewarded that way. Then you develop a trust with them. And then once you trust them that that they're not going to flush birds out of range, you kind of slowly introduce them to falconry. So then I'll run them with 2 of my adult trained dogs, so they can watch and run with dogs that are trained and already doing it right.
Very interesting. Do you have any issues with a younger dog trying to run in on your bird because you spent the first year just gun hunting? Does that ever become an issue?
With the setters, it's never been an issue. I've had a few German dogs that can they need strong reminders that hey, that hawk's your sibling, leave it alone. But
right.
I've never had anything bad happen. One of the hardest ones was my Teckle. Dang near blow sparks out of its rear to keep that dog from going after my hawk for the first couple hunts. But then eventually
to kill it, to grab it.
He wanted to take the rabbit away from the hawk.
Okay, yeah.
How long did you have that dog?
I want to say 2 years, and then when I lost Zoid, it was just really hard for me to run dachshunds after I lost Zoid. Right around that same time, one of Zoid's puppies got killed by a rattlesnake. So the person that had Zoid's puppy, I offered him Vader, and they they took Vader. And then they had Vader for a while, and Vader actually ended up dying in a car that caught on fire.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Was that the guy in the van?
It wasn't in a van. It was like an SUV, but it burst into flames, and
I remember that they posted it on social media. I think a couple years. It was probably more than a couple years ago now. I think.
yeah, like the fuel line caught on fire, and there was ammunition in the car that started going off, and the only animal that lived from it was like the dog that was in the front seat, but the dog's in the crate, and everything else was killed in the fire. I don't know the full details, but like I do know that Vader died in the fire.
Oh my god, that's a horror. Well, thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy. Oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry. That's brutal.
That's rough, man.
Have you lost? I don't know if you want to touch on that, but have you lost, any other dogs in the field or birds in the field? Anything crazy like that?
Deaths in the field. I lost the dog. I lost Audrey to heat stroke.
Jeez.
And then I had a dog fall down a mine shaft, but I was able to get that dog out.
Just like in the middle of the desert or something?
Yeah, so like New Mexico, a lot of the western states, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, are big mining areas. So like there's mines every mountain in the states I just listed, like has mines all over it from like the early 1900s. And there's hundreds of them.
For what? Like turquoise and stuff?
Turquoise, copper, gold, granite, all sorts of stuff. They like the Forest Service. I mean, they know they have a lot of mines and they fill in the ones they know about, but there's so many mines that like they don't even know about all of them. Like the one my dog fell down, like wasn't on any maps.
God. How deep was it?
Like 45 feet.
Holy crap. Did it just straight down to the bottom and hit the bottom, or did it bounce or you don't know? You just came up looking for the dog.
Garmin disconnected and I was like, fuck, my collar broke. That was my assumption,
Yeah.
And I had another dog on point. So I was like, I'll go. Mine shaft wasn't even on my radar,
You're like, let's catch this quail and then we'll go check it out.
Yeah. I was like, let's go flush this quail, catch it, and go look for this. Cause it was a puppy wearing the collar. It was like one of her first times out with the hawk. And I was like, she probably got lost and went back to the truck or something. Cause like they do that a lot.
Yeah.
And there's nothing for dozens of miles. So like, it's not really like a safety thing. Like they need to learn how to not get lost. So I was like, all right, let's go flush this quail. I had 2 friends with me from Alaska. They came down to watch the hawk fly, and quail gets up. My bird smokes it midair. I have it on video, and like, okay, where's this dog? And I'm looking for the dog, and I walk back to where the Garmin disconnected, and it reconnects. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. And I'm like, it says 8 feet. And I'm looking around and there's like some bushes and then there's like a toilet bowl of a hole almost. Like probably about the size of like, I don't know, like a minivan or something. Like, but that's like the toilet bowl. But in the middle of the toilet bowl, there's a hole that's maybe 6-7 feet across tops. And it just goes straight down. So like, I think she came through the bushes, hit like the sandy toilet bowl and like slid into the hole and couldn't get, and then fell. So I don't know how she fell, but I thought she was dead.
Yeah.
We called the police. They were useless. We called local search and rescue. They said if it's not a human, that we're on our own. And so I said, so if I go down there and I get stuck, you'll come get me, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. And so
that's a good answer.
We got some ropes out of my truck and we rappelled my buddy's wife down because she was the lightest person. There's nothing to tie off to. So me and my buddy had to rappel his wife down, who was like 100 pounds. And
like with the harness, or you just wrapped the rope around her waist?
I tied a Swiss seat for her with a rope, and then we connected a rope to it. And then so she gets like maybe 5 feet from the bottom of the hole, and like rocks are tumbling down the side of the mine shaft, and one of them hits the dog, and the dog lifts her head up like, hey, where were you guys? Like, she just laid down like she was in a crate or something. She was like, all right, I'm just gonna take a nap down here. We get her in a vest, haul her out of the hole, and she runs around like nothing had ever happened. It was
oh my god, that's crazy. That is
Not
such
a
a crazy
single-
story.
Not a single broken bone, nothing.
Oh my God, dude, that's crazy. That's like, I mean, we talk about there's hazards every time you freaking go flying and, cutting your dogs loose. That's just like, I mean, I guess out by you, I would expect it more, but like, that's the last thing I would expect is like my dog falling down this mine 45 feet to the
Dude,
bottom.
I've hunted 180-day seasons here for 7 years and never even thought it would happen to me. I mean, did you ever hear the story of Michael Clark's red tail that caught a rabbit and then fell down one?
No, I didn't hear that.
And they got the bird back somehow. I think they used like a flashlight attached to a lure and like had the red tail grab the lure and they pulled the red tail out of the hole.
That's smart. That's a
The
good
red tail
story.
could probably get out on its own, I guess, depending on what the mine shaft looked like.
I don't know, man. Some of them are real narrow, like 6 feet wide, but then 50 plus feet tall. So like,
Yeah, they
have
can't
to fly
fly.
like straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sketchy, man. I'd be scared like walk because I've seen a couple of your stuff where you're like on pretty much all your videos and like all your hunts, you are walking back basically in the dark, depending on how the hunt goes. Like I'd be nervous about that too, depending on how far in you are.
I mean, yeah, eventually you start to learn like the areas I walk back in the dark are fields I hunt a lot. But yeah, it's definitely a concern, and I worry about the dogs too. Now, after that incident, I will never cut a dog loose in the desert without a GPS collar on.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I use GPS on my dachshunds, and I'm one of the few. It just scares me to not have it on them.
Dude, especially if you own it. Like, I've met people that are like, oh, I just put a bell on my dog. And I'm like, a bell isn't going to tell you where your dog is when it's down a hole.
The bell drives me crazy.
Yeah, I can't stand the bell.
I can't do it.
No, the bell should be on the bird. I don't need to hear 5 different bells going off in the field. It's just so annoying. It drives me nuts.
I feel like you're able to push, just the GPS on the bird for sure, but you're able to push the hunt farther if you know where everybody is at all times.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, like some of my setters I don't see until they're on point. Like I'll cut them loose and I might not see them for a half hour.
Jeez.
And then the Garmin will go off, say they're on point, and they'll be 500 yards away, and I'll walk to them, and they're standing there with quail in front of them. Like,
So they'll just hold the point that long?
Oh, dude, they'll hold it till the sun goes down, and as long as they don't, the quail don't run off. But
and the quail usually don't run off when the dog points them.
If it's a really experienced dog and they have good wind and they're like 50 yards off, they won't run off. But if the dog's right on top of them or the dog gets too pushy, they will. I couldn't do what I do without GPS. There's no way.
And to hunt quail the way you hunt would be basically like just the luck of the draw if you went out just on foot with your goshawk looking for quail.
Yeah,
with no dogs.
I would get lucky to see quail like once a week without the dogs. It just wouldn't work. And then your hawk's not going to chase them as hard.
Right. Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine it.
So the dogs are just a huge critical part. And now you're running as 3. What's your go-to number of dogs?
3. I don't like to run more than 3.
Yeah, I've
Super
seen people out west just kind of blindly. It looks, I'll just say stumbling around, but just going out without a dog and with a hawk to catch quail seems like crazy stuff to me.
Dude, I'd rather piss into the wind. There's no way. Like,
yeah.
Shit, I'm that way now with rabbits or even squirrels. If I go out with somebody and they don't have a dog and their bird won't fly with dogs, it just. Yeah.
Dude, I feel lost. Like, what do you want me to do? Start kicking tree stumps? Like, this is silly.
Yeah.
I tell so many people, I'm like, get a dog. Like, you don't even have to buy a dachshund from me. Just get a dog. Yeah. Then what do you think about when people are like, well, what about my German Shepherd?
Oh, yeah.
That drives me crazy.
Oh, yeah. Or their pit bull. I've heard that.
Yeah,
hunting breed.
If you're I'm sure they work and I'm sure they help, and like I've seen them work and I've seen them help, but like a lot of like what people leave out of that equation is like those people are hunting like a drainage ditch at a Home Depot. Like a blind pug is gonna find rabbits there. Like
I don't know about that. I mean, those dogs are pretty useless.
yeah, but like, go take your pit mix from the shelter and like drop it in a briar patch and tell me how many rabbits he produces. Like,
oh yeah, it ain't happening.
He found the rabbits in the hedges on this manicured lawn with sprinklers going off. Like, good job, dude.
Yeah. The dog makes a huge difference. Like, if you don't have, I've ran dogs, and I didn't have dogs for a few years because of where I was living, and we just got married, and it's just night and day. It's just like, it's not even a comparison. Like, your game count. It doesn't have to be a dachshund. It's just whatever you're hunting. If you have a good dog for that, it's going to triple your kill count easily.
Well, down here, if you don't have a dog, you'll catch like 6 rabbits a year if you're hunting, pretty seriously.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, they're all in the thick, like blackberry or honeysuckle or stuff that a human can't get in. And if a person goes in there, the rabbit's not going to flush.
Like beagle, dachshund, or terrier. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yep. Now you were telling us, you were telling me that you grew up running beagles with your family. Like, your dad had beagles?
My grandfather had beagles.
And he would just do a ton of rabbit hunting with the beagles?
Yeah, he'd cut beagle, like in the Northeast, there's a lot of high tension power poles that run through neighborhoods, and like the areas under those like poles is like
loaded with rabbits
patches and stuff, and it's loaded with rabbits. He'd cut a couple beagles loose in there, and when the rabbits would cross where it's cut for a road or something, you'd shoot the rabbits out in front of the beagles.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing puts up rabbits like beagles.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on beagles for falconry? I mean, I don't see too many people do it. The guy that we were talking about with the Harris Hawks and Ian, I think he runs beagles, doesn't he? Or I might be mistaken.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure. Like, Chad used to run beagles down in Louisiana under his Harris Hawks and Red Tails, and he was like the only one catching rabbits down there because he was the only one with beagles. Like, he could send his beagles into the briar patch, and not only would they run the rabbit for multiple circles, but like it would give the hawk multiple times or chances to catch that same rabbit. It wasn't like, and that's the cool thing about beagles, they're going to keep circling that rabbit as long as you let them.
Yeah, they are very cool. I've toyed with the idea of getting one just to add to my group, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. I just don't know how they are around the house, if they bark all day and night, or how rangy they are.
You can teach them to be quiet. They're very trainable. They're way more trainable than people realize. The hard part with beagles is, one, you got to get a good one. 2, if you're hunting too close to suburbia, like, they're fucking loud. Like,
yeah,
when they're on a rabbit, like, it's gonna sound like you're out there beating on your dog.
Yeah, it's true.
I know a guy that produces a ton of beagles, and he's produced dwarf beagles in the past. I'm not talking short leg. I'm talking like real, actual dwarfs. I told him if he ever does it again, let me get that dog.
That'd be cool, yeah. That'd be fun. But I wonder if the nose would take a hit with the size. Teddy says the miniature beagles are useless. She just said it in passing.
I mean, it depends on how much you want to tinker with it or try to find a good one.
Ian Gregg, he has 2, and I saw him at the Jersey meet, and they really weren't that big. They were like 30 pounds, full grown. And it wasn't that much bigger than a dachshund. It was not that big of a dog. And he seems to really...
No, a lot of them are the size of a standard dachshund.
Yeah.
Not a mini, but a standard.
Yeah, standard, and they just got slight, longer legs a little bit. But yeah,
I want to get one. I want a standard. I want a long-haired standard.
Dude, the wire-hair Teckle that I had was was probably the best nosed dachshund I've had.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me that he had a really good nose on him.
I just don't want to deal with the coat. Teddy scared me away from the coat. She said you have to strip it.
It's not as big of a deal as people make. Like, dude, like I could teach you how to hand strip a dog's coat real like with a 2-minute video. Like, you just get the dog on the back porch and you just sit there and you like pinch and roll your fingers, and you do it like twice a year, and they look great.
Pinch and roll like you do to itch your ball sack.
Too old to pinch it now. I don't want to stretch it any further.
Yeah.
Fair
That's
enough.
so funny. That's hilarious. Well, what other
So,
topics
Tyler,
can we touch on? I'm trying to think.
But like, if the briars are as thick as say they are where you're at, like, that'll help keep a coat stripped on a dog anyways.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I love the
what the
long
coat's
hairs. I
designed
like
to
the
do.
look, and it seems like all the serious one. There's a guy in California that I've been talking to that does field trials and supposedly has some good long hairs, but it seems like most of the working standards are wire hairs.
Yeah, the imports.
So Casey was asking, is there anything that you feel like we haven't touched on that you'd like the opportunity to talk about?
I mean, I think we covered a good bit.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff. But this is okay. So you're doing that fundraiser for that nonprofit, right? That charity thing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
There's a little like subtext line in the falconry regulations where you're allowed to donate hunts to nonprofits like that. And so the non-lead partnership has done it a bunch with like Brian Much, and he takes people out hunting sharptail with falcon. A lot of my friend group are gun hunters. I've had a heavy involvement with quail forever. I'm pretty serious about quail, so I made sure it was legal. And then this year I'm donating a hunt. I'm going to take whoever wins. We're going to set up a cabin and then like pay someone to come out and cook. And I'm going to take them hawking for a few days, basically.
That's awesome.
So, but it should raise a few $1,000s. Like, that's how bad gun hunters want to see hawk catch quail, which to me is cool. Like, it's an opportunity to not only raise money, but show someone that that wouldn't have had an opportunity otherwise. I mean, I take people out for free all the time. It feels weird to finally, like, I'm not charging any, I'm not making any money. It's all going to charity, but it just feels weird because, like, I know there's a lot of people that would want to go, and I'll reach out to them and tell them, like, hey, you can still come, but this is just a charity thing.
Yeah. You fly with a lot of people. Like, it seems like I don't really get out with that many people that often. But it seems like you, like, on a lot of your hunts, you got like 4 or 5 people, and then you have, like, who's the photographer guy that follows you around, gets all those pictures? He gets awesome pictures.
That's my buddy Chris. He lives right down the street. He enjoys just watching. He doesn't want to be a falconer. He just likes taking pictures.
That's awesome.
So, like,
Smart.
Yeah, I'm kind of envious of him sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, I love falconry and I'll do falconry for a long time, but like, sometimes I think about what life would be like if I didn't pour half of my year every year into falconry.
Yeah, I'd probably be loaded if I didn't.
Imagine if we worked out instead.
Oh yeah, I'd be freaking jacked, bro. Oh yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah, so you take a lot of people. So what? I'm just trying to think, because, like, are you going out during the week with all these people, or are you going out on weekends? Like, how are you setting this up? Like, I'm always in a rush all the time.
I tell everybody I'm leaving my house at 2:00. If you're not here, I'm leaving. If you are here, you get to come. Like, I don't tell anybody no. And so it's a double-sided coin. Like, I want to show people falconry. I want to show people quail hawking, but I also want my bird to be socialized so that when I do go to a Napa meet, I can hawk with whoever, you know. I don't gain a lot from it, but I'm gaining something from it. Like, my bird's getting, like, my bird does not give a flying fuck about anybody in the field. Like, you can wear sunglasses, purple hats, you can wear one of those vagina hats that they wore at that protest. Like, he does not care.
That's awesome. It's good to have a bird like that, man. It takes a lot of work to get that.
Dude, my North American, like, he was good, but he was nowhere near this bird. Like, with stuff like that. Like, if people wore sunglasses, he would fly off. Like, this bird does not care.
Yeah, I noticed. I definitely noticed my North Americans the most. Obviously, tiercels are more high strung as like a general rule, but this North American female I have currently is pretty high strung. But she did good at the meet. She didn't really seem to care too much.
The thing I noticed most about my North American was like if I skipped a day of hunting, he like resented it like more than this bird does.
That's interesting.
He was like hotter the next day,
Yeah.
I think a tiercel North American is the prettiest goshawk you can have, a mature one.
I'm gonna agree. Like even though I love the bird I have, I wish he was painted like a North American.
Yeah. They're so beautiful, man. I can't wait to see this bird molt out.
And they just get prettier each year. Their eyes get darker. Their feathers get darker.
Hey, Casey, how old is Kev's bird?
Kevin's bird, I think, is like it's infinite because you can't fly. Yeah, it's been living and will continue to live for as long as Kevin is alive, because you can't have a goshawk in Connecticut. So he's grandfather.
Shit state.
It's so stupid, bro. That's
regardless,
such a piece of shit.
Regardless,
like
that's an old bird.
It's like it's like 10 years old.
It is.
You can't have a goshawk in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. No, Connecticut, you can't have a goshawk, and you can't trap your own bird there either.
I knew they can't trap their own birds, but I didn't know they like outlawed goshawks. That's fucking stupid.
Yep, they sure did.
That just like further solidifies my hatred towards Connecticut.
Yeah. Places I'll never move. I'll add Connecticut there.
Yeah, I'll never move there.
Dude, growing up in Massachusetts, we were like raised to hate Connecticut. Like, Connecticut's a part of New England, but it's a part of New England no one likes.
Yeah.
So are you from Massachusetts?
Yeah, I lived most of my life in Mass.
You don't have an accent.
Dude, I haven't lived in Mass in like 16 years.
I just sold a dog to a guy in Mass. He had the perfect Mass accent. That dude Kevin that we were talking about, to give you some context, Tyler, he's got this fully mature, several years old at a minimum, tiercel North American that's just like dark black, like slate gray with like blood red eyes. It's the coolest looking bird.
Yeah. Kevin did good at the meet too. He cleaned up. He caught like 4 or something like that. He did great.
Yeah. I saw him catch 2. So,
and his dog is great too.
Have you ever hawked on the East Coast, Tyler?
I've hawked in Mass and I've hawked in Pennsylvania.
As you know from hawking here, it's just totally different from out west.
Yeah, I grew up hunting in Mass. I'm familiar with, like, I lived in New Jersey. Like, it's definitely different. It's different from the Midwest even. It's its own thing. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, are you coming out? You gonna come dig some foxes and groundhogs with Teddy this spring?
I'm trying to. I don't know if I'm gonna come out in April or June, but either way, I will come out. I just don't know when.
Cool.
So you let us know this summer?
Yeah, I want to bring. I'm leaning more towards June because my terrier pups will be a little bit older. But
if you want to make a trip of it, we can go to DC and Rat too.
Oh, that would be fun. Oh man, see some Yog Terriers destroy some rats. That'd be so fun.
I'd have my son with me, so I'm gonna take him to see my mom in Jersey, and then I'll probably take him to see my dad in Mass.
Cool. I'll bring my son too. They can play.
I'll bring my daughter. It'll just be a whole fucking kid party.
Yeah, man. We'll let you go. Thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure having you.